Welcome to ChiroSphere, where we talk about all things chiropractic and some things not so chiropractic. I'm Dr. Ray Foxworth, your host of ChiroSphere and CEO of ChiroHealth USA, the network that works for chiropractic. Our guest today is Brad Cost, a true pioneer in the healthcare data technology and a real friend of the chiropractic profession. He's the president and CEO of Infinedi, a claims clearinghouse, and co-host of the popular podcast Tech Talk with Dr. Jay Greenstein. He's a modern-day Renaissance man where he fuels his creativity, indulging in hobbies that span everything from cooking, wood, and metalworking to floral arrangements. With a formidable arsenal of knowledge and expertise, Brad is not only highly respected, but also nationally sought after as a premier resource within healthcare and data analytics industry. His relentless passion for pushing the boundaries of technology has revolutionized how data is analyzed and utilized in the medical field. In addition to his leadership at Infinedi, Brad's ownership of several other technology companies underscores his unwavering commitment to the innovation and advancement in the field. Serving as the primary data partner for organizations like the American Chiropractic Association and the American Medical Association further cements his influence and impact on healthcare. Brad's dedication to propelling the chiropractic profession into the future is evident as the Chirotech Consortium Work Group Vice Chair for the Chiropractic Strategic Plan. His leadership in building the profession's first data lake is helping to shape the future of chiropractic care. Beyond his professional endeavors, Brad is deeply committed to education and training, serving on the Board of Governors for Oklahoma State University and the Associates Board of the OSU Spears School of Business. His tireless efforts to educate providers about big data analytics nationally underscore his dedication to advancing the field and empowering practitioners. Bottom line is, Brad, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on this morning.
Man, hope y'all enjoyed the podcast. We're done.
Welcome to the world of podcasting.
Oh my gosh, man!
Trying to do that live, where everything is falling apart right in front of your eyes, but sometimes it makes for the best podcast.
Yes, it does. We've been having a few platform issues, just so everybody understands. It's kind of like back in the days of live radio. You never tell what can tell what's going to happen. So before we get started, I always like to start out with what Simon Sinek calls your why. And I'd like to know what really drives you in the work that you do for our profession, Brad.
Well, Ray, there are a lot of threads to that. Part of that goes back to my childhood when I was raised. I come from a family of people that were known and dedicated their lives to helping other people. Grandfathers, both preachers and ministers, missionaries in my family. So I feel like I was sort of born with the desire to help other people. And my mom and dad made sure that we did that. So I've got that. I've been a business guy, and getting into chiropractic space sort of just happened. And started out with a group in Oklahoma. A guy by the name of Larry Bridges was the executive director back, and they were sort of ahead of the curve in what they did. And they had started an IPA. They'd gone to payers and said, hey, we can do this analytically, keep our doctors all under these norms and do utilization, and you don't have to worry about it. And they had a graduate student at the University of Oklahoma that was doing it for him, and he graduated. And Larry came to me and said, hey, Brad, can you do this? And I said, I think so. I was hungry and young and business guy and thought I could do anything. And so we headed down that path. That grew then to Lou Anderson out of Secure Care from Nebraska coming and said, hey, Brad, we got a situation where the Blues can't give us reports anymore. Can you do what you're doing for Oklahoma? I said, sure. And we really took with Nebraska and advanced the platform and created a true IPA, IPN kind of system where we were tracking the providers and tracking what was going on and giving dashboards at that point to the IPA so they could monitor their doctors and report cards, and really advanced at that point of time. And then Jay Greenstein came into my life, and Jay was trying to do the same thing. And Jay and I connected probably 15, 16, 17 years ago. I was in Washington, D.C. at the ACA headquarters talking to them about relationship and partners. And I met Jay, and And that sort of kicked off a lifelong friendship. And now Jay and I are connected at the hip about data. We teach together. We do a podcast together. We are at the bar together talking about chiropractic and technology, and one of my close friends now. And so, Ray, I mean, it just all comes down to, I'm sure, much like you, I've made this amazing network of guys like you and Barron and other people that are my best friends today, and I
Yeah.
just feel like I need to be there to help them. As I get older in my life, it's more about helping your friends, being with your friends, than it is about making money. I'm sure you
Yeah,
understand that.
no doubt about it. As I've often shared with people, while I'm certainly happy that our company has done well over the years, 15 years into it, hard to believe. But what I really value the most are the relationships that I've developed with people far outside of my state that I never would have had that opportunity. And there really is something rewarding about giving to a profession, giving to people that you develop these relationships with. It's not always about the money. To me, it's about the relationships. And kudos to your parents. Clearly the fruit didn't fall far from the tree. Those influences that we have from our parents, sometimes we don't realize it until we're a little bit older.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's dig into some tech stuff.
Sure.
So the development of electronic data technology has clearly transformed everything we do in healthcare. What would you say is the most significant advancement in healthcare technology since you've been at it? And I know from when we talked before, you started with the abacus and with the clay tablet. So
Yeah,
what's really changed, Jay?
it. I worked for Oklahoma State University at that time as a researcher, and I was in the plant pathology entomology department, and I was there when the internet first came to the university, believe it or not. And
Was
I
Al Gore there?
no, but Bell was there saying, Watson, come in, you know.
Yeah.
No, but it was a pretty amazing thing at that time. And back then, it was nothing like it was today. It was truly like MS DOS prompts that you had to key in command lines to get. And the University of Minnesota really developed that first interface, and it was called Gopher for the Minnesota Gophers. And I sort of helped that come into our department and be used. And as I then left, I was there 18 years. After I left and bought Infinedi, I was part of three guys. We were buying and selling businesses. We found Infinedi. I bought Infinedi lock, stock, and barrel for $7,000 and from the IRS. And it was probably, I hope it's going to end up being one of my best investments. But we got started into this. Really, I didn't know anything about claims processing or any piece of that, but we got into a situation where we were faxing reports to clients, and the fax ran over the normal phone line at that time. And the way the packets would go through different switching systems across America, it squeezed the fax together and you couldn't read it, or it became a problem with some new clients in Florida. And I said, listen, I've been designing these websites for the internet. What if we did that and just put a static thing on there? And my lead programmer and my business manager today at the time said, Brad, nobody's going to use the internet. That's just a waste.
Is that guy still with you?
Yeah, he's my second in command, actually. You know,
Uh,
we did. And that really was the beginning, as everything is today. We now have this little tool, Ray, at our device that we can connect to anybody anywhere in the world. We can learn about them. We can communicate with them. We can take analytical information to the point today that the consumer expects that technology to be there, to work well, to be easy to connect to, and easy to utilize. And man, the last 15 or so years has been super exciting. Can you imagine what the next 10 or 15 are going to be as AI comes on? So, hands down, the internet has changed technology, healthcare technology, and the profession I'm in for sure.
Yep. So I know you gather data or work with the ACA and the American Medical Association. Um, How do you envision the future of data analytics, specifically in chiropractic, and really what opportunities do you see for the individual practitioner leveraging that data to, let's face it, improve their practice, but also enhance patient outcomes? Just kind of both areas, the business
Well,
side and the practice side.
yeah, Ray, you've heard me give this lecture, I'm sure, a lot. But, as a chiropractor today, we've got the young guys, the old guys, literally. And
Careful.
no disrespect to any of them, but younger guys come out of school. They come with this technology. They believe evidence is sort of important. They had a little more science maybe in school. They want to be proven. Well, why? Why? Show me, show me, show me. Where the old guys, they just want to be the wizard and say, trust me, trust me.
Hmm.
And that's really the defining line. Today's healthcare, not just chiropractic, but primary care, all specialties, this rigor of evidence-based science is coming to play. And a lot of doctors are afraid of it. And they want to push back and say, Brad, I don't have time. Or Brad, I don't want anyone to know what I'm doing, right or wrong. I don't want anyone to know what I'm doing. And I always start my talk out because how many of you have one of these devices? And everybody raises their hand. I said, this is the most invasive device that you can have is your phone. Every 15 seconds, it's pinging you to find out exactly where you are, how long you've been
Yeah.
at that spot. It knows what's going on. We're talking about collecting large data sets, hence the big data set, hundreds of millions of claims, billions of claim points, data points in a data lake to say, this is why chiropractic should be considered a normal pathway in healthcare.
Yeah.
Never before, Ray, have you had anything other anecdotal or a little bit of data to do it. But with some of the things that I'm doing now, we're going to be looking just like your normal primary care population with irrefutable evidence that you just can't deny that chiropractic is there. And if
Yeah.
I can make that one change, Ray, I,
Yeah.
I will help change this profession.
Yeah. Well, as one of the older guys, the thought process is, well, it's my practice. I'll do what I damn well please.
Well,
That's fine up until the point that somebody else is paying the bill.
yeah,
And I think what a lot of doctors don't grasp is they look at big data as something that's going to be against them, when in fact, just about everything that I've ever seen come out of the analytics of big data is in our favor.
yeah,
It kind of
absolutely.
makes me think back to the days of Dr. Jim Parker. Parker, he said, chiropractic succeeds because it's right.
Yeah,
And it's like the more we dig and delve into the data, for us older guys that used to say, just trust me. The reality is data is proving what they were asking people to just trust them for. So it is really something that should be embraced. So as the vice chair of the Chirotech Consortium work group for the Chiropractic Strategic Plan, we need an acronym for that too. You've been instrumental in building the profession's first data lake. First of all, what the hell's a data lake?
well, it is, that's an odd term, but if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. So today, there's more than one type of piece of data. We have claims, we have payment responses from payers, we have electronic patient charts, we have intake forms, we have all kinds of pieces. We even have, again, I keep holding this thing up, but we have data that can be collected. All this blood pressure, heart rate, sleep patterns. There is medical devices, medical systems everywhere that have been collecting information, but they've never been connected. And that's what big data is, connecting all of those pieces to it. So if you look at the concept of a lake, and maybe you're a fisherman, maybe not, but there's more than one type of fish in the lake, right? There are all kinds of fish. And usually when you're fishing for one type of fish, you use a certain type of bait. And that's really what the data lake is gathering all of these disparate pieces of information, identifying who the patient is, then de-identify them. And whenever a researcher, and let's talk in the sense of a researcher using this data lake, because that's what we're building it for in the beginning. But let's say they want to look at patients between a certain age and a certain gender that had low back pain, that had greater than 5 visits but less than 25 visits. You basically, by using modern technology, and we've talked a little bit about AI, but I have built an AI chatbot, just like ChatGPT. Researchers don't know how to write programmatic code. They wouldn't know how to write a query or build a net to get that specific information out of the lake. So I built a chatbot and just basically typing in a sentence, like I just said, hey, I'd like to look at males between the age of 28 and 65 that had low back pain that saw a doctor greater than 5 times, but less than 30 times. The AI understands that. It goes out and builds a very sophisticated query and goes through every layer of the lake looking for all the fish that is. And hence they come up with a seine full of fish that is the data query, the results. And that is very complex. We call it bicubical databases that are 3-dimensional. It comes up with very sophisticated information that researcher then can use. And they can keep refining it over and over by just simply typing prompts to make that data more refined in what they want. Hence a data lake.
Well, there we go. It's a bunch of different kind of fish. So now I understand what a data lake is.
Well, I'm a boy from Oklahoma, you know.
I get it. So for the average chiropractor on Main Street, they hear about data and collecting data. And let's face it, oftentimes, historically, data has been used against us by some of the payers. So there's somewhat of a reluctance to participate in it. But I'd like you to speak for just a minute about, when I had my practice, we ran our claims through Blue Cross Blue Shield through their clearinghouse. When they run their claims through an Infinedi, what's the big difference? The difference is we don't see big data, or we don't get the benefit of the data from a Blue Cross Blue Shield. So doctors say, oh, this is free. So I'll use it. Man, how costly is that to the profession? So what are the pros and cons of going through like an Infinedi versus some of the free clearing houses out there? And what do doctors really need to understand about their thought process? I'm saving money, but on the back end, man, they're costing themselves money, it seems to me.
They are, and it's a travesty to me. Let me explain why you need a clearinghouse to start out with. HIPAA came out and said, listen, you've got to communicate in a standard language, number one. So claims are in a very unique ANSI X12 today 4010 transactional language. That's a big mouthful, but that just says, hey, we're all going to speak the same language. We're all going to speak English, kind of a thing. And that's important between trading partners. You must do that language to be under the law. And some of that's for privacy and security. But there are 2 basic types of clearinghouses. And this is the important piece here, Ray. There are aggregators. Well, let's say there's 3. There are aggregators like Change Health, WebMD, TriZetto, that their big function is to aggregate from smaller clearinghouses, pick those claims up, put them in a bundle, and send them on to the payer. And typically the payer pays them a rebate for doing that. They are working for the payer, basically. A payer clearinghouse where you can transmit, there are some payers you can transmit claims to the payer directly. They're the insource. They're the guys with the money. That's who's going to pay you. Then there's clearinghouses like me that we're in partnership with the clinician, the doctors. We act on your behalf. We're going to side with you when there's an argument. We're going to look for your best behalf. We're going to do analysis on the data to say, you're filing this wrong. This is not going to get paid. We want it to get paid fast and quick and under the guise that we know in chiropractic will be paid. And so that relationship with you cost you basically 1 claim a month for me to provide all of that technology, all of that energy, all that effort to represent you in the payer relationship.
Well, that kind of sums it up.
I mean, that's as simple as it can be. And historically, payers have taken data in large amounts of data, but as you said earlier, they've used it against you in ways. And today, Ray, in one of my talks, I use the analogy, they put you in a room. And today, you've been in that room for so long, you don't know where the windows are, you don't know where the doors are, and you don't know how to get out of it. You've just become so used to being in the room, you stop fighting to try to get out. And big data is the door and the window to get out in my eyes. And this is a moment in time beyond all times I can see in the profession that you can change this dynamic. You can, with evidence-based proof, show that chiropractic does everything you guys have been saying in the past, but with that science evidence to prove it.
Yep. We're going to take a quick break for about 30 seconds to hear from our sponsors. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Welcome back to our podcast with my friend Brad Cost. Brad, you were just talking about how claims processing or using a clearinghouse like yours really does benefit the profession. I think we recently had a win in the state of Kentucky as a result of big data. How about fill us in on what occurred there?
Well, one of the first tools that we put out there under CTC was a schema that Jay actually stimulated and pushed me, the thought process that came up with that idea. And that was, he was into dashboards and showing me dashboards. We had made a client-based dashboard where our clients could log on and see these analytics, what we call KPI, key performance indicator dashboards, that told not just the financial side, but where are you making mistakes? What are you leaving on the table? What payers are treating you good? What payers are being bad? And in some brainstorming session, he and I came out, wouldn't that be great if we could do that for everybody in America? And I said, you know what? I think I can do that. And sure enough, we were able to take all that information, de-identify the patients, de-identify the doctors, and simply roll it up to a state level, and then roll those states up to a national level. And we sort of brainstormed, who do we give this to? And I said, well, I want to give it to the executive directors of every state. So for the first time, they can log on at any time they want to and see what's going on in their state. They don't have to call. They don't have to do surveys. They can get that day's information. And it worked. And Rachel Wentz, who is the executive director of Kentucky, I knew Rachel all the way going back to Colorado, and she was an avid user of it. And she called me one day and she said, Brad, I think I found something. Could you run some deeper queries? And we did. And sure enough, she was absolutely right. And it was abuse in a multiple ways. One, they just weren't paying the agreed amount, contracted amount. And it showed that quite clearly, where over time they were slowly sort of decreasing their payment. Well, the doctors just thought, well, I don't know, or they had that, well, that's the office manager's job, or I just don't, I don't care. But in a bigger picture, it was affecting every doctor going to that payer. And we finally saw the last 6 months, they just started denying everything, and not very many were fighting back. Rachel took that dashboard to the payer, and basically they said, yeah, that's sort of what we're doing.
Got us.
Yeah. If you have the doctors go back 6 months and refile those claims, we'll pay them correctly. Well, they knew the doctors have a struggle of rebilling out of their software systems. They're just not designed. But little did they know they had Brad, and in a couple mouse clicks, I can resubmit everything. So Rachel said, but you've been doing it for longer than 6 months. Well, 6 months is what we'll do. So she went to the insurance commissioner. Insurance commissioner says, that's pretty damning evidence. We'll make them go back a year and 6 months. And they did. And pretty soon doctors started getting these $10,000 checks, and all that money came back into the system. And not only was Rachel able to do that, now she recently hosted a webinar and had some billing experts come in and take the billing information that we do. Why are you making errors? Here are the errors you are making, and made them better offices in coding and billing. Because if we can eliminate the error side of it, the payer really has no argument to not pay you correctly.
Yeah, that's true. If they do continue to engage in that, it's what our good friend Jay calls insurance crimes. I mean, it really is. It is criminal, in my opinion. So I was really excited to see, as part of the Chirotech Consortium, you bringing the Oklahoma State University folks into play. Tell me about how that came about. And to my knowledge, I may just be ignorant of it, but have there been any other instances where major universities like that have partnered or worked with the chiropractic profession
Oh,
and helping us build a data lake? I mean, it seems somewhat unique.
yeah, none. But I've sat on that board of directors since the conception of this. It's a master's program, a master's of business analytics, large data analytics. And the genesis of that program was a man by the name of James Patterson. And James was the founder of Cerner software. Cerner is the number one or number two that in Epic global healthcare software systems. So the beginnings of the program was to understand large healthcare data sets. And over the years, they had gotten away from that and done more. And I understand they'd done more business analytics. We've got Walmart, we've got UPS, we got a lot of big, large businesses that want to understand their business process. And this master's program, they graduate with a master's in data science. And they are capable of looking at business processes, any kind of process, to find the inefficiencies in it or find better ways to do it. And this data lake came up, and I went to the department head and I said, listen, Dr. C, I get this project. I've given you 12, 13 years here. What about let's get back to their original thought process of what these students do and give them something hard? This is a master's degree. Instead of these little tiny one semester projects, let me have the students for an entire year. I'll have my team work with them, teach them the real world kind of things. And he agreed. And so we've had 20 students, graduate students in the program, and they came in, and we did stretch them. We asked them to do a little data engineering, which they're not that expertise, but it was amazing to see those students that their minds really click. They dug in and learned those pieces themselves. This is the last week that we have the students. We've had them for a year now, and we didn't get quite to the point we wanted to, but they contributed a tremendous amount. And now we can say that we have this academic level of production where we built it. This program is in the top 5 in America. There are some other major universities having it, but because of Mr. Patterson's contribution, it brings a credence and credibility to the program that many others don't have.
That's awesome. So with this being the year, or they're about to wrap up with this project, will there be another group of students that come in that will continue it, or is it?
Well, I think we so radically changed their process of doing classes and projects and presenting the projects. I do know I was asked they're going to present it at SAS Global, which SAS is the original statistical analysis system that is used by every major financial, every healthcare system for doing statistical analysis. They're partners at Oklahoma State University because of the uniqueness of this program. So the students will be giving talks and presenting a paper at SAS Global and doing it. I'm not quite sure. My team now, I've pulled off part of my development team. They have already actually started. They've been teaching the students. They've been guiding them through this process. My team is kicking in starting last week. We're kicking in to start writing the code. Matter of fact, today I'm trying to finish the user interface. At leadership this week, you're going to see screenshots of those user interface. It's a pretty exciting thing to see, Ray. I don't know that anything else exists like this in all of healthcare. I know for sure that in the chiropractic space, nothing like this exists before. And I think the researchers are super excited to be able to have this. I think they're a little leery because they've never seen anything like this before, but we've kept in constant communication with them. Actually, two of them have found NIH grant that they are applying to for us that will bring a couple of $1 million to sustain this program
That is awesome.
through the strategic plan. And we really probably, for it to grow, we need to get a data scientist involved in it full time so they can keep the lake healthy and alive. But I believe by the end of the summer, my team will have a working prototype that we can start showing. We can start populating the lake at that time. We've gotten commitment from, I believe, 7 electronic vendors, whether they're doing practice management software or electronic medical record software, or possibly even some of the insurance payers themselves, to start contributing to the data lake as soon as that structure is up and ready to intake that data.
Yeah, I was really impressed to hear that you guys had gotten 6 or 7 different software vendors in the chiropractic space to agree to participate. That's not typical of competitors, and hopefully they have seen the benefit of working together. The collaborative organizations. It really, as the saying goes, a rising tide raises all boats. So
Right.
a shout out to those vendors, to those companies that have participated. So let me ask you one other question just about our profession, say compared to the medical profession, since you're involved with both. What do you see the differences between the chiropractic profession and, say, the people in the medical world? Where are we in relation to them in their gathering of their data and how they're using it?
We're behind.
Behind?
Yeah, we're behind.
Yeah.
They have the resources that probably this profession doesn't have. You just look at the pharmaceutical world and how much money they contribute into the projects. We just don't have vendors at that level to do that, Ray. And hence one of the reasons I stepped in and am donating this system. For me, I want to donate this and put this under the guidance of the strategic plan. I believe so strongly in the leadership things that you've done, Jay's done, and many others that have stepped up and volunteered all their time to do that. And I thought, you know what, if I am ever going to do something, this is where I need to do it. And I felt a very strong tug at my heart to do this, intellectually to do this. It's not simple. It's very complex. It's a very, very big suck of money, but I think we're going to get it done. And Ray, just think, we're going to have 20 million patient records in that data lake when it kicks off. And a researcher that works for a university is doing active research in the profession can log into that lake and get as many chiropractic patient records as they need for no money, no
That is
cost.
awesome. Awesome.
I
Well,
just,
I personally want to thank you for what you have done. Major contributions, and it does not go unnoticed. Um,
well,
so
Ray, I appreciate it, but it's under the leadership, mentorship of guys like you and Jay and several others out there that have grabbed my hand, pulled me up beside them, and you guys, and said, "Hey, be a part of us." And I appreciate that, both from a friendship level, from an intellectual level, and just from the spirit of giving. I appreciate that.
well, I got some just for fun questions for you.
Sure.
Who's your hero and why?
Who's my hero? I got to say, my dad is my hero. My dad died when I was 13 years old, and I was the youngest child left at home. I had to finish raising my mom,
Wow.
and he was a great daddy. He had a job that allowed me to be beside him a lot. And all of the things that he taught me, I didn't even realize I was being taught. Ray has made me the man that I am today. I still have a zillion faults, no question, but at least my feet were put on a path by a man that people loved and cared about, and I've tried to do the same thing.
Yeah. What's the worst job you ever had?
Oh, dude. In, in high school in Altus, Oklahoma, it's got to be the hottest spot on the planet. I worked for a summer tarring roofs.
Oh my
And
gosh.
And if you've never done that job, you ought to do it for 30 minutes or 30 seconds just to get an appreciation for the labor that gets out and does that kind of thing.
Oh my gosh. That almost tops my experience in high school working on a catfish farm when they seine the ponds with two tractors on both sides. And I'm the guy that's in the water throwing the fish out and
Smile.
occasionally a moccasin, you know. It's just,
Yeah. You got it. Yeah.
very motivating things to make you want to go to college. Well, thanks so much for spending some time with us today, Brad, and thank everyone for listening to the ChiroSphere podcast. Please subscribe and share the podcast with your friends. Let us know who you'd like to hear from in the future, and we'll try to get them on. If you want to learn more about ChiroHealth USA and how we can help you develop a profitable discount strategy that will grow your practice, increase your income, and most importantly, your profitability, call us at 888-719-9990 or visit our website at CHUSA.com to find out why ChiroHealth USA is the network that works for chiropractic and you. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Ray.